Today we are talking about the downsides of living in Venezuela. Before we start, I have to clarify that most of these problems actually are being solved until a certain degree here in Venezuela. So they're not deal breakers, just a little, rough patches that you have to face when you live in Venezuela and you have to face it every day. Let's talk about services and utilities. And on the past 5 to 10 years, it's been a nightmare to get a decent quality service of the utilities. First, with the blackouts, the electrical grid is been an issue, I have to say it. We have blackouts, let's say, a couple of times per month, just a few hours per month, although the situation was way worse a few years back. However, we are not having those same issues as we had before, and actually the electricity was free years ago, and right now companies and some residences have to pay electricity, although still most of the households don't pay electricity, so a good ROI on that regard. The other utilities that we face some sort of issues is the water, tap water service, and it was terrible actually a few years ago, again because it was free. Right now it's been paid like everything else, although usually comes with a HOA fee, so you don't have to pay it house per house. And the service it's been improving from the past, let's say, 2 or 3 years, so it won't be that much of a deal breaker at this point. Let's talk about internet connection. It was awful just a few years ago because most of the service was provided by CanTV. CanTV is a state-owned company that actually is being privatized to a certain degree. However, it's by the effects of this conversation a public service, and it was pretty cheap. It cost like a nickel or something, or less than $1. However, getting a new connection is next to impossible. You have to bribe people, and the internet quality was terrible. And a couple of other private services were also available, but they were terrible services, and those were private companies. However, from the past 2 years or so, those services had been improving. Right now, we have a lot of supply of small and mid-sized companies that cater towards the internet service. And right now, there is pretty okay, pretty decent. You have a bunch of services that provide high-speed internet. I'm talking 25 MBs, 50 MBs, 100 MBs, and up. So if you are coming here as a digital nomad and you want high-speed internet, actually that there is no longer an issue, the internet connection. The other thing we have to talk is about safety. Venezuela is a safe country, and I can say it with a straight face that it's a safe country. However, it's safe if you know what you're doing. I always told you guys that. If you are in a decent neighborhood, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to behave, nothing is going to happen, or it's pretty rare that something bad is going to happen to you. However, we have to say as well that the murder crimes have been going down. The petty theft, petty robbery is also going down. You can walk on the street with your iPhone or a fancy watch, depending on the neighborhood, and nothing is going to happen to you. You just have to take some precautions, exercise some common sense, and you're going to be pretty okay. Here is not, this is not a war, this is not Syria, this is not Ukraine, this is not West Africa, this is not Somalia. You're going to be pretty much fine if you take some precautions. And lastly, we're going to talk the only problem that apparently is unsolvable is red tape. We have a bunch of red tape here in Venezuela. It's terrible, just like in any other place in Latin America, and actually we are seeing that in many developed economies as well. A lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of corruption, but in Venezuela it's pretty terrible and it's pretty badly. That's one of the reasons that I created this service, created Venezuela Insider, in order to help you go through these hurdles. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's pretty bad, although it's not impossible to solve. It's just another issue, another problem that you have to resolve. And if you know what you're doing, yet again, you're going to be just fine and you're going to solve all of the issues that you might encounter with the red tape.